All right, welcome everyone to another Maran Motoring Live Q&A here. Hope you're all having a great Sunday here and a great weekend. And so yeah, thanks to all of you that have joined in here so far. Like all the other usual live streams, we'll be going for about 2 hours. I'll be giving party answering to anyone who's a member with the green names there, as well as anyone who does a super chat or a super thanks. If you would like to get party answering, there's always a link in the description here for the link to sign up if you don't see a join button elsewhere here. But anyway, so that's how we'll go for it. And just going to go through all the questions here. So let me see. I got a bunch of people already joined in. Thanks so much, Brian, Hugo, Marco, Kyle, Hunter, Rafi, Jazz, Joe, Steven, Linda. Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. Wheatman for joining in. I appreciate it. And hope everyone's doing well here. So let me see. Marco says, how's it going, y'all? Hope everyone's had a great Sunday. Patriots finally won and actually looked like an NFL team. Well, congrats on that. I don't follow the NFL or any kind of football whatsoever. So completely unaware of that. I know my mom was upset. We were at dinner and we missed the Steelers game, but I think we ended up winning. So not like I care, but happy the Patriots did well for you, Marco. And yeah, let me see. So Marco says, man, of course, Dodge wouldn't give up on their ICE vehicles. Yeah, I know that's, a lot of people, I mean, everyone was just like not knowing what to believe. I know that was like, that's really probably going to be the topic of the night here is the Dodge thing. And, their big announcement here, I talked about, in the weekly update on Friday. And a lot of people were like, well, why were you surprised? And, as far as like a lot of people are like, yeah, they were never going to give up the gas thing, but they specifically said like the quote, I'm not sure if I'm going to get it 100% correct, but they were like, the Hemi is dying in this platform, which obviously we knew that platform was going away, but the Hemi is going away, the platform is going away. And their one short sentence said, the next generation will be BEV. That's it. They were like rebuffing all the, oh, what about gas stuff? They're like, the next generation is going to be electric. And, Motor Trend and others were like, well, they could still say the next generation will be battery electric, but it can also be other things, not only battery electric or solely battery electric, and trying to, get them off on these technicalities. And I guess that turned out to be accurate. But, before this revelation this week, they literally said the next generation is going to be battery electric, get off our backs, essentially. Like, so it's like, okay, we believe you, Dodge, it's going to be battery electric. And then, they turn around and do this. So, that's why I was like, okay, if that's what you're saying, whatever you say. And like, I'm not going to argue with our CEO who's literally telling us on a conference call, it's going to be electric, leave us alone. Like, okay, fine, it'll be electric only. That's it. So, that was the official word for like, when did they debut the Charger EV? Like a year and a half ago now or something? For a year and a half, that's been, the focus. That's what they've been talking about. That's been the bottom line. So that's why I was blindsided, and I think some others were because I took them at their word and believed what they said and didn't try and twist it into my own agenda of what I thought they should do or might do. I was just like, okay, I'll take it at face value. You say it's gonna be battery electric, it'll be battery electric. But clearly, they were full of crap with that. So it is what it is. But let me see everyone else joining in here. So glad to see so many people joining in here tonight. So Steven says, how are you liking those tires? They're great so far. Yeah, I was able to put about 200 miles on them so far. And now it's going to be sitting in the garage for another month, maybe month and a half. We'll see. Because I just got a ton of press cars coming in. I'm going to be doubled up on press cars for like the next month or so here. A lot of fun, exciting stuff. If you remember, you saw the schedule. Lots of good stuff coming, but it means the Bullet is going to sit and get back to its usual job of sadly just being an airport runner. So I'll be going on a few trips here in the next month, and it'll just be driven to the airport, sit in the airport parking lot for days on end, and then be driven home and go back in the garage and keep doing that here. But it was really fun actually daily driving the Bullet for a few weeks, and it's kind of fun not having a press car for a little while every once in a while. So that was nice to try out. But I love the tires so far. And Jazz says, Matt, you might not follow football. However, I hope you love the Steelers. Yeah, I have no like love for them or really any of the Pittsburgh teams. I mean, I I support them as far as like I don't hate them, but I just don't care. I got bigger fish to fry than a football game, unfortunately. It's just not my form of entertainment. And Justice Matt, looks like you've had time to shave since Friday. Very good. Yep. Thankfully, weekends give me a lot of time to get caught up on my own personal care and all that. Shaving is one of those things. You can usually tell how busy I am by when the last time was that I shaved. But it's just the way my life is right now. Says, what's up, Matt? I rented an Ionic 5 this weekend up in Columbus. First time driving an EV, took an hour and a half to find a charger. 3 were broken. Finally found a 50 kilowatt charger by Meyer. That's bizarre because Columbus, I actually went to Columbus in the Mach-E this summer. We went to the Columbus Zoo. And I mean, I was able to make it there on a full charge, but on the way back, I charged at my hotel. They actually had chargers at the zoo, but I didn't even need it. And then they had on the way back, there was an Electrify America at a Walmart that was totally good. If it was your first time with an EV, maybe you aren't familiar with all the EV apps that would really help you a lot, but PlugShare, anyone who's even renting an EV, download the PlugShare app just because it's basically like Yelp for chargers. You can filter through and filter out all the crap garbage ones that don't work. And it's really, really good. I never go anywhere if I know I'm going to need a charge, I always do my research ahead of time and say, okay, where do I need to hit? Like which ones are going to give me the best odds of success? It's something you got to really plan out ahead of time and do your research. And at least in my experience, doing my homework on the chargers ahead of time pays off. And I've never been disappointed beyond on my road trip last year. There was one charger that was down, and because of the demand at that current moment, I had to wait like 10 minutes for a charger. That was the worst experience I've had. So I really just recommend everyone you got to do research if you're driving an EV. An EV is not for someone that's just going to like hop in and just drive and hope that everything works out. You have to like be a big time planner, or else it's going to really turn into a nightmare, it seems. Because I've heard similar experiences from other people that just they let their navigation system just take them to the nearest charger and hope for the best. And that's unfortunately not a reliable way to get a charge still. Hopefully things get better soon, but it's really like something you got to like really dig in and, plan every step. You can't just spontaneously make a wrong turn and go somewhere different, or, you have to like stick to your plan it out ahead of time, chart it out. I have plan B, plan A, like I have backups of like, okay, if this charger's down, I go to this one that's 2 miles away, and I make sure I have enough buffer in my, battery so that I hit the first charger knowing I have enough to get to the second one if the first one fails, despite my research. Like I'm that type of personality. I know I'm bizarre and not everyone thinks like I do, so that's okay. But he said, I was hoping the charger the hotel had a charger, but that wasn't the case. We weren't planning to rent the EV, but that's all they had. Gotcha. That's going to be interesting because I know Hertz and others are now like shoving people into these like Model 3s and stuff who have probably no idea how to even do EV stuff. Obviously, you're a car person, this stuff better than the average Joe. But the average Joe hopping into these Hertz rentals, like charging etiquette's already bad enough with actual EV owners, like with vacation rental people that know nothing about cars. Like it's gonna be a zoo out there with the chargers here in the coming years. But anyway, he said Instant Torque was very, very fun, very different than my Miata. And as far as in the future, if you do need to figure out a hotel that has a charger, that was another thing with our hotel whenever we did our trip to Columbus this year. You can, like on hotels.com, and I'm sure other sites, filter or hotels that only have chargers. And then I go and look on PlugShare and research that hotel's chargers. How many do they have? How reliable have they been? And most hotel chargers are honestly pretty crap. Like the hotel we stayed at, it only had one functioning charger. And so that was a bit of a leap of faith of like really hope that we're the only EV that's, going to try and plug in here and get a charge overnight. And thankfully that did work out. But that was another instance where I was like, okay, well, if the hotel can't give me a charge, where am I going to go for a charge? And there was actually like a hospital across the street I could have plugged in, and they had a bunch of chargers, so that's, again, just, you got to figure out like the contingencies to the fifth degree, to know, just so you don't get stranded and be left without a paddle. You you really have to like go crazy with that. But anyway, so sorry, I have a lot of experience and I've read so many horror stories, and I just, I feel like a lot of times it's just, you gotta just like really be a super intense planner and have all your bases covered. And it's unfortunate it has to be that way, but that's just like the personality you need to have to drive an EV right now. Evolve NG, thank you so much for the super chat. I said, did you watch the F1 race today? What are your thoughts on Lewis and Leclerc getting disqualified? I have no clue about any of that. I don't follow F1 whatsoever. So I am not the right person to ask for that. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, I can't give you an intelligent response. But yeah, I don't know. Aside from the F1 race that I attended, I did the Canadian Grand Prix with Shell back in 2017. I think that's the only time I've actually ever sat through an entire F1 race, and like watching it. So yes, I guess I just don't have time to sit around and watch a race for however long they are, 3 hours or something on a weekend. Like, I'm very jealous of people that have that kind of free time. That is just like unthinkable for me, unfortunately. So I'm hoping someday to have a better amount of free time, but as of right now, just do not have the time. But thank you so much for the super chat. And Newt, thank you so much for joining in here, Newt Media, for hopping on here and moderating. It's been a while since I've seen you. I hope you're doing well. I'll probably be actually hitting you up, Zach, in regards to a potential, not job, but maybe potentially collabing on something here towards the end of the month. So I have to send you a message. Thanks for reminding me, and thanks for joining in here, Zach. Anyway, I'm way behind on the member questions here. So let me get caught up since I went off the rails there at the tangent. And Linda said Dodge realized that folks wanted ice. Yeah, and I'm curious if it was, them reacting to stuff, or if this was the plan all along and they just wanted to whip everyone into a frenzy. I'm inclined to think that they did just change plans, but it's also really hard to change plans that quickly and then have like a full-blown tool trial body ready to go, maybe 18 months after the concept debuted. I mean, that's really quick. So yeah, I'm impressed that they brought it out one way or the other, but I'm happy to see it. And Jazz is asking about the moles on my neck here. They're just birthmarks that I've had for a long time. So just all normal, nothing unhealthy there. I appreciate the concern, Jazz. SMD says, hey, Matt, how are you doing today? Doing well. Just had a fun weekend here with the family. Thanks for asking. Austin says, I feel like manufacturers have been hedging their bets with EV adoption. And now the way the winds are blowing with EVs sitting on lots, they're backing off of their timeline a little. Absolutely. And this is what I've been saying for the past 3 or 4 years when these timelines came out and everyone was making these commitments. I was like, they're making a lot of big money commitments and they're pouring a ton of money into the electric thing. But as far as the speed at which they switch this over or how quickly they go to zero gas vehicles, that all could change. And we're already seeing that 2023. I was saying back in 2020, like, oh, well, this is 15 years away for the 2035 deadlines. A lot can change in 15 years. We didn't have iPhones 15 years ago. But it's like literally all it took was 3 years. And like, yeah, like you said, a few cars sitting on lots. And like, oh, wait a minute, maybe we should slow down on this EV thing. So like, it's all talk. It's all marketing crap. And, it may eventually actually work out. It may be that 2035, everything does go fully electric. That's still totally a possibility, especially in Europe. I don't think they're going to back off of it completely in Europe. I think they're just buying everyone a little more time here. But, we'll see. Like I said, anything can change. Technology could change. The batteries are evolving really fast, but also, maybe carbon capture technology gets radically better in the next 12 years and CO2 emissions are something that we don't have to worry about. And, we just have to wait and see. So yeah, it's interesting though that these companies they're always kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out with everything. It seems they always have their backup plans in case they want to just ditch at the first sign of trouble. But Fook says, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining in, Fook. SMD says, hey, a 2019 Mustang Bullet seems like too good of a deal for 36 grand. That would be a great deal. Yeah, 36. I've been seeing some dip into the 30s for sure, especially with higher miles. But yeah, I think that's probably a pretty good deal depending on the mileage and how well it's been treated. Jazz says, Matt, maybe this is a good time to buy an EV before they get too popular or before there are more chargers out there. You have to buy items when others don't. Otherwise, you don't get the bargain. Definitely. I mean, I think that is certainly the case right now. Anyone who's on the fence about EVs before or in the past couple of years when it was really hard to get them, it's been a pain to, hunt stuff down for a while. But now, like, yeah, this is the time to get your 10 grand off a Lightning, get your, 7 grand off a Mach-E or whatever they're doing for discounts on those. I know the Hyundais are 10 grand off. The Genesis is 10 grand off. Even Beth and I were just discussing the other day because I told her like the Genesis GV60, which she really loved. We had that like the week before the Mach-E came in as a press vehicle, and she loved the GV60. And I was like, yeah, the GV60s are like discounted enough now that it actually is like basically Mach-E pricing or maybe even slightly under. And so I was like, yeah, I mean, that might be a potential if you wanted to swap, but I think, yeah, neither of us really want to do any kind of shopping. And also the thing is, we got the Mach-E back whenever interest rates were still decent last year. And, now even if we were to lease it, you still have rates kind of playing into lease, prices and all that. So I still feel like, it might end up working out, but I think we're kind of just happy with the Mach-E. So it's not something we need to further explore. But yeah, definitely this is the time to go get your bargain on an EV right now. Because I think, in the next year or two here, even, there was this limbo where everyone's going to switch over to NACS charge ports. And all of us CCS people are going to need adapters, at chargers that don't have the dual hookups. Most of them are going to have the dual hookups, but for the places that don't, you'll need an adapter. So that'll make those less desirable. But it also makes them, discounted up front, in addition to the fact that depreciation might also be kind of brutal on them eventually. We'll see. So I would say maybe get a really good lease deal on something right now and, bundle those discounts in, with the leasing. Because a lot of companies, even if they aren't discounting right up front on the EVs, they're the ones that don't get the tax credits are at least giving you like a 7 grand off lease thing to kind of compensate for a lack of a tax credit. So there's all kinds of deals to be had out there for EVs right now. And especially anyone who's like burned out with like regular gas or regular, gas powered cars being expensive and not having as many deals. If you want a deal on a car, period, you don't care, get an EV. That's where the deals are at for sure right now. And Marco says, with Europe backing off on this strict EV schedule, it almost felt as if Europe knew it was never going to be a viable timeline. So what really is the future? What do you think about that? I mean, I believe, what kind of has been reported is that they're not backing off because they don't think it's a viable thing. Like the electric thing is still on track and that hasn't changed. The only thing that changed in Europe was the Euro 7 emission stuff, which was just supposed to clamp down on the gas stuff more. And the reason why they backed out of that is because the car companies argued that if they had to spend more money to, either make new engines or radically, rechange their current engines to do the new updated emissions and the lower emissions, that's millions of engineering dollars and time being invested into gas engines that most of those European companies are trying to get rid of, and Europe, the EU, wants to get rid of. So it's kind of this thing of like, okay, well, sure, like EU, we can go ahead and spend millions of dollars on gas engines, but do you want us to spend more money on our internal combustion engines, or do you want us to spend those millions of dollars making our EVs better instead? And so I think the EU just kind of understood like what's the greater goal here. The greater goal for them is EV adoption by 2035. If these companies can, actually have good stuff ready by that time period and have more engineering dollars to pour into that goal, then what happens between now and 2035, I guess to them was less important from an emission standpoint than what happens from 2035 and beyond. That is the more important thing to them. So I think that was why they kind of agreed to that compromise. And I think that especially in Europe, they are seeing, EV adoption is still growing. And I think it's growing enough that I don't think the EU is like needing to put quite as much pressure on it. I think it's, and we're even seeing with, gas prices and stuff continuing to be higher. And, that all is driving people into, going for EVs a little bit more. And I mean, even like, I think the UK said they had like an energy surplus where like energy was like insanely cheap because like they were making too much clean energy in the UK. So they like, it was, so I think there's certain things, there's been some major breakthroughs as far as clean energy, even in the States, as far as like tons of solar stuff going up, tons of wind stuff going up, all these, renewable things. So I think they're seeing enough progress there that they didn't need to, try and choke these gas engines for the next 10 years even more, and instead just like let them be, and just hope that the EVs that are coming online will kind of offset that, in the meantime. So so I don't think it's like you're playing games. I think it's just them being like, okay, if this helps us get to the all electric future they want to get to, then that's fine. And Linda says, I'm sticking with my Mustang. It was a dream to drive to my 57th high school reunion. That's awesome. And that's impressive that you made it to your 57th high school reunion. I've never gone to a high school reunion, but I'm only up to, I think maybe it was this past year was like 15 years. I went to a tiny little school, so I don't even know if they did one, but not something I go to anyway. But that's awesome you're able to go to it and bring your cool car. That's awesome. Steven says, I'm thinking of getting a Porsche 911 all-wheel drive as I live in the Midwest and visit Colorado often. Thoughts? I have not driven a 992, and I don't think I've driven a 991 even. So I drove a 991, but I didn't drive on a 991.2. So yeah, I haven't done any of the newer ones, so I'm not a great judge of those. But yeah, if you look up 911 review on my channel, I can't remember the model year, the most recent one I did. Maybe it's a 2013 or maybe it's probably 2013, 2014 possibly. That was the newest 911 that I've driven, unfortunately. I would love to drive the new ones, but Porsche doesn't think that I'm worthy of 911 or Porsche loans in general. So, and I don't blame them. Again, they have a small press fleet and they just send to the big guys and that's it. But yeah, I mean, they seem awesome. I think that'd be a really sweet, awesome car to drive through bad weather, and especially if you're planning on doing that, that'd be so much fun to daily drive one of those through the winter. So I think it's a great idea. Even though I haven't driven them, I gotta think that's gotta be so much fun. And let me see, trying to get caught back up here on member questions. Steven says it's a 2023 if he can find Shark Blue. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Marco says, for being a car guy, my lack of knowledge of racing actually scares me. Yeah, it's it's kind of interesting how there's some enthusiasts that are really into racing, others that don't get into it, and it's just everyone likes different kinds of cars, same kind of deal there. Cam Jam says, hi Matt, just watched your Infiniti Q50 3.7 review. Seems like a great value for 20 grand on these market, especially with that high revving V6. Thanks for watching that old review there. Yeah, those are great. I love them with that V6. It's it's basically the 370Z V6 there, and you got it in a awesome, beautiful, comfortable Q50. I think the turbo ones are certainly great from a tuning potential and standpoint, and from just having a little bit more punch and torque and stuff. But I love revving out an engine, and I think those early Q50s are really fantastic. And I didn't realize 20 grand on these market is that'd be a tempting buy for sure, and should be pretty solid. I know some people don't love the reliability on their Z's, but I think, hopefully it'd be okay. So yeah, as long as it's been treated well, I think it'd probably be a solid buy there, and I'm glad the video helped you. And Rafi says, oh man, the Grand Highlander guy is back. Yeah, I saw the bunch of questions there about that. I'm just going to keep on rolling with the member questions here, though. Steven says, with a daughter's school plays, etc., you'll not have much free time until her first prom. Yeah, that's probably true. And also, just again, the channel just keeps me so busy too that a lot of people just have their 9-to-5 job and maybe even have less than that, or they can work from home and they can do some off and on kind of work kind of situations. For me, it's like I am like on nonstop, and I'm oftentimes, as you've seen with some of the late uploads here recently, sometimes I'm editing until 11 o'clock at night, and waking up at 7 a.m. and doing it all the next day, and it's a grind. So trying to balance that and give enough family free time, or enough family time, just means I have no free time for myself really. But it's all good. I love having the family time at least, and that helps to keep me sane, so I'm not a complete workaholic. Rafi says, I still think hybrid is currently the best move, or at least until there are more and more chargers. Yeah, I think hybrid's great, and that's why there's a huge popularity. I mean, hybrids are still so hot selling right now. They are the number one things that are still selling out on lots, and some dealers are still getting markups on hybrids and stuff. They are definitely, and I think it's a great gateway for a lot of people. People who, previously were like, oh, hybrid, that's like a Prius, and now they're like, oh, I'll go for a hybrid. Like it takes it takes the general consumer a long time to do that switchover. I mean, Prius has been out for what, 25 years now? And now 25 years later, everyone's like, hey, maybe this hybrid thing's a good idea. And so give it another 25 years and everyone will be probably saying the same thing about EVs, and hopefully we'll have better chargers and stuff by that point. So it just takes people time. And I think hybrids are a great solution. You're right, until the charging network's more reliable. And I still think, I love plug-in hybrids. They're kind of the best of both worlds. Especially if you live in a place where you can charge at home. That's, really the thing that you need to have still. But let me see. So Double Strike says, I missed the last couple live streams, so especially on a day when everyone has been arguing in the house, this is very therapeutic. Well, sorry to hear about the chaos, but glad to give you a little bit of refuge here, I suppose. And thanks for joining in, Double Strike. Mike says, Matt, with it seeming like the high output version of the Hurricane is being ready for production, the gas Charger most likely launching next year, could we possibly see a high performance Grand Cherokee? I don't know how Jeep feels about the SRT thing now, because, they have the Wrangler 392, but I think that was kind of just an easy money printer for them, especially with the Wrangler crowd, where like it seems like there is no limit to Wrangler buyer prices. It's just like you tell them what to pay and they'll pay it. Like it's just like it's so funny how like with Wranglers, like people are like, oh yeah, I'll pay 50 grand for cloth seats and like no amenities whatsoever. Like totally. But you try and push that on anyone else for 50 grand in any other car, and everyone's like, what, are you crazy? But it is just the way it is. But so I mean, there's a possibility they could do a high performance Grand Cherokee. I honestly doubt if Jeep wants to do a high performance Grand Cherokee anymore. They haven't said anything about it. That could be something I'm sure it'd be a good question to ask in another conference call with them down the road or something, or maybe in an auto show here. I can try and, see if I can get anything out of them. But I think that the possibility clearly is there. And I think all the pieces of the puzzle could be put together in that, way for another SRT Grand Cherokee if they wanted. I'm not certain that they would actually want to do that, but it's totally possible. It'd be a great performance version to do that. And also, even if it's not a performance version, I could see the Hurricane motor going into the Grand Cherokee as, a V8 replacement. Not like the V8 had a huge take rate in the Grand Cherokee, but I think, that could be a welcome addition for a few people with, again, higher budgets that are going for Grand Cherokee L and maybe want a little more punch than what's offered in, the V6, and they don't want the 4xe thing for whatever reason. I think there could be some potential there. I just don't know about, slapping on the body kit and the big brakes and everything else for the, high performance SRT version. But never say never. It's, we'll have to see, but I think Jeep is just happy to just do the rugged outdoorsy thing, and that's it. But we'll see. I'd like to see that for sure. Luke, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, sorry, I was late to join. My neighbors were screaming and I had to call the cops. Holy crap. I'm excited to see the Civic Hybrid hatch, a true Prius competitor. Yeah, that'll be great. Sorry to hear about the neighborhood drama, man. It's a crazy Sunday for Luke and for Double Shot, man. That's nuts. I hope everything is all copacetic there, Luke, but thanks for joining in still in the live stream here. And I'm excited for the Civic Hybrid as well. I'm surprised it's taken them this long, but better late than never, I guess. And I think it'll be a good Prius competitor for sure. And I mean, not even just Prius, but I mean, Corolla's had the hybrid thing now for a while too. And, Corolla and Civic are rivals. So I think it'll be great, for that as well. And let me see. So other member questions. Thanks for joining in, Justin. Fuchs says, I drive a CNG truck and it takes a lot of planning to make it work. Not many pumps that fit a truck, but even then range anxiety is almost gone now. EV is not that bad. Would prefer a hybrid though. Yeah, hybrid definitely makes things easier, but it's cool about the CNG truck. I know every once in a while I'd still actually see a CNG Civic. And I think I saw a Sentra that had that, or maybe it was a propane one or something. Every once in a while I see an oddball, one of those, alternative energy Civics or Sentras or Corolla, maybe. I don't know what it was, but yeah, it's always interesting to see. Let me see here. So the old cookie says, want to hear something crazy? In September, there was only registered 87 new gas cars, non-hybrids in Norway. That's 0.8% market share. The Fisker Ocean sold 190 units, and EVs have 87% market share. Yeah, Norway is so cold too, where you would think the lower range of EVs in the winter would like really hurt them. But yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of differences as far as culture and lifestyle, and also as far as driving and how people drive, how far people drive. Yeah, there's differences there, but it shows you that it is totally possible, even now, if you make it a priority and if the government gets behind it and if the people are behind it. It's again the culture of the people to have to want that, and also have the incentives to make it affordable, and also have people just have the disposable wealth to be able to afford that stuff. And so it's just all those things being balanced correctly to give you the right circumstances to have 87% EV market share. It's one of those things, same thing, like I mean, you can apply that to all kinds of stuff, not just cars. Like there's, falling birth rates, and people are like, well, how are we going to get people to have kids? It's like, well, maybe if you like made it so people could afford things, and, people would be like, oh, sure, I can afford a kid, but it's like whenever you have crap healthcare and you have no money and all this, like, why would people want to have kids? So there's all these kinds of things that, if the quality of life is good, then people can try out new things and not be, pinching pennies quite as much. And Austin says, to me, EVs are such new technology, it doesn't make sense to buy in until the tech is way more mature. Gas engines have been around for 100 years and are pretty much perfected at this point. There's some of that, but I think you could also argue that EVs, I mean, it's pretty, like an electric motor is pretty simple. And electric motors have actually been around, I think, longer than the gas engine. I could be wrong on that, but I mean, electric motors are very old tech. That's very simple. Obviously the batteries and the computers and all that kind of stuff to control all that are obviously new and tricky. But yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, and I mean, that's, again, it comes down to personality type. There's a lot of people that like trying new technology and being on the cutting edge and being the guinea pigs for that stuff. And there's a lot of people that are happy to sit on the sidelines. The same people that don't even want to buy a gas car in the first model year because, oh, there's new technology, I want to wait till the second or third model year, take my time, see how things pan out. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just different personality types. And, those are the kind of people that especially are going to be on the sidelines until they see how this all plays out. And, they see a 10-year reliability chart from Consumer Reports or something and say, okay, well, now I feel comfortable with this company's EV tech or whatever. And then they will join in. Everyone goes at their own pace. And, that's why mandating stuff usually doesn't work very well. And, trying to just make the stuff good, make it appealing, make it desirable, make it, what everyone wants. And then you don't have to force people into it. They'll be running for it, And so I think it's just, it's on, the companies to just make it good, make it not suck, make the charging experience not suck, make all these things better. And then the people will come, I think, as long as they have the money. So it's, again, then that's when you have to worry about, the quality of life and all that. But, and Newt, thanks so much for linking the 911 review there for Steve and anyone else that'd like to try watching the 2013 911 review. That was it's always fun driving a 911. So thanks for showing that there, Zach. And anyway, Cam Jam says very excited for the review tomorrow. That 3.7 V6 is awesome. Yeah, thanks for not spoiling it for the non-members. I'll keep it exclusive, but yeah, I'm excited for that review, and I'll be interested to see how that one does. I don't want to give it too much away there, but Tom, thank you so much for the generous super chat. He says, is a used high mileage 2012 TLX a good used car? My sister's going to need to drive herself to school, but I want her to get a reliable car with a backup camera. Any good recommendations under 15 grand? I mean, as far as under 15, obviously there's a ton of stuff. It's going to come down to, what she needs, what she wants, brands that, you guys prefer and all that. TLX though, I mean, you're talking about, old school Honda tech, pretty much there. That should be pretty solid. High mileage should be fine. From, what I know about them, I'm by no means an expert in 2012 TLXs. But, that's, again, the older stuff, before Honda and Acura did any kind of turbos or any kind of really advanced technology, and especially the TLX is, just a dressed up Accord in a lot of ways. So I think, and actually 2012, are you talking TSX? I think TLX came online in 2015, if I remember, because it was TL and TSX. So I'm not sure about that. But regardless, any of those older Hondas and Acura should be pretty solid, should run a good long while. Other recommendations under 15, if you're just looking for normal commuter cars, I mean, if you want something reliable, with a backup camera, I would say get, any kind of Toyota or Honda, especially a naturally aspirated one, I think is a pretty foolproof recommendation, in my opinion. You really can't go wrong with any of them. So it's just, find whatever mileage you can afford, whatever model year you can afford that has what you want as far as, backup camera, all that kind of stuff. And just, go for that. I think that's a pretty safe bet. There might be some other stuff, that you certainly could still have good luck with. There's lots of other reliable stuff that isn't a Honda or Toyota, but it really have to be, that's just by easy blanket recommendation. But, if you dig into other vehicles and stuff, there are still some other ones that could last just as long. You just have to kind of dig into them and make sure you're picking the right one, the right model year. And there's a little more homework to do on some of the Honda and Toyota stuff sometimes. But thank you so much for the super chat, Tom. And if you have any follow-up questions, I'll try and keep an eye out for those as well. And also feel free to, if you want to drill down on more context of exactly what she's looking for and what she needs, feel free to also send me a Facebook message if you have Facebook, or an email, and be more than happy to chat back and forth on the Facebook fan page there as far as, what exactly would be the best fit for her. And let me see other member questions here. Get back to where I was. Joe says, hey man, if you were to have a preference, would you pick a vehicle that corners well or straight line speed? If so, what vehicle would that be, excluding the Bullet? Okay, so for my personal preference, around here, there's a lot of corners. So I definitely like something that isn't complete mess in the handling department. And honestly, I mean, straight line speed, I like. Obviously, I have the Bullet and I enjoy accelerations, as we all know. But I think around here, I would be more annoyed by a vehicle that handles badly than I would about a vehicle that doesn't have a super fast acceleration. So I would go on the corners well side of the spectrum if it had to be one or the other. And as far as excluding the Bullet, I mean, if there was another car that I owned outside of the Bullet, it would be a GR86. Easy choice. So that would be, and that falls into that, pocket of cornering well and still having good straight line speed, but nothing, as fast as the Bullet. But that, 100%. If I didn't have the Bullet, it'd be a GR86, I think. Pretty certain. Unless I needed something with all-wheel drive and 4 doors, or, one or the other. But, if I'm just talking about something that replaces the Bullet as far as a 2-door manual fun car just for me, basically, GR86 is definitely what I would get. Fuchs says, yeah, it's going to take a lot to perfect the battery technology and infrastructure to make it work. It takes the Prius and 20 years for hybrids to catch on. 2035 is very optimistic. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, the thing with the battery tech is they're also pouring a lot of money into it, like way more than hybrids, and so I think we're already hearing 2026 for solid state stuff. Maybe that'll be for expensive solid state stuff, and maybe it'll take some time to get cheaper. But if 2026, Toyota's saying they're going to have 600 miles of range and, 5 to 10 minute recharge times, that'll convince a lot of people. That'll remove a lot of that anxiety and a lot of those barriers, so that who cares if there's not a million good chargers, which there will be way more of in 2026. But even if that weren't the case, when you got 600 miles of range to work with and you only have to sit at a charger for 5 to 10 minutes, it's not as bad. And people will worry less about the chargers at that point. But then if you have, the charging, I mean, even Mercedes alone is putting up a few thousand chargers. You got, all the other companies putting out more chargers. And then you got the Tesla network now to lean on with, everyone switching over to the Tesla charger. I think it'll actually change over pretty quick. I think it could actually happen before 2035. Again, we will see what happens. We could have World War III happen, in another month, or we could have everything be copacetic and everything be great for, a while. And it could, depending on, again, how economic conditions are and stuff, that could be slowed down or sped up. But we'll see. I think, there's a total possibility. I think it could actually happen sooner. It could happen longer. Again, it's all up in the air. We'll have to see. But I really think the battery tech is getting getting really good really fast. So I think it's gonna really take off quickly. And let me see. Mike says, in terms of EV adoption, I think one overlooked thing is apartment complexes and property owners theoretically getting massive discounts on installing level 2 EV chargers for all their tenants. If they got that, that could definitely help. But I think, that's the biggest problem is apartment dwellers, or even just street parkers. I mean, a lot of places, even here in Pittsburgh, there's a ton of houses that don't have driveways, and people that just live on, either main roads or just live on roads where they don't have any kind of, driveway to, have a dedicated charging spot. And, there's a lot of people that they do that. They don't have their spot all the time right in front of their house, and so it's one of those things where they can't rely on having a one spot to charge. And so those people, I think, having a hybrid is great. And that's a great option for them until, we again get to these 5-minute recharge times where it can be equivalent to gas. Then, they can hop on if they want. But I think, that is going to be the biggest challenge, even if it's the most amazing thing ever. It's about, again, the fast recharge times for those apartment dwellers. And Mike says, the Grand Cherokee is meant to try to target like the X5 and Q7 shopper and the higher trims. Why not go after something like the X3M and X5 M50i? Definitely. I think the only thing about that is, one, they might go after X5 and Q7 shoppers, but I mean, maybe there are a few people that cross shop, but I think if you are in the X5 and Q7 camp, you're not looking at Jeeps. I could be wrong, but I struggle. I mean, I'm sure Jeep would like to think that they are going after those people, and I'm sure they have conquested a few of them, but I don't know. I think, maybe the people who want something with more off-road capability, sure, they will maybe swap their X5 or Q7 for a Grand Cherokee. But at least around here and, the suburban dwellers, I think that most of them would probably just stick to the, X5s and Q7s. But I agree that, they could, go for a higher performing version. But the only thing is those high performing versions, the X3M, the X5M, 50i, stuff like that. I mean, those sell in smaller numbers. And with Jeep, I don't know. I feel like they might be more focused on trying to not get fined like insanely from all the, fines they're going to be getting here for their cafe fleet averages just being terrible and stuff. So I think, they're really going to try and just go heavy on electrification and really push the 4xe thing, because they need people to buy those so that they don't get just completely raked over the coals with these emissions fines. So that's why I'm skeptical, but I'd like to think that they would do some kind of performance version. It'd be great to see. And Cam Jam says, I've not heard about the Civic Hybrid. That sounds awesome. Yeah, I actually, just in this past Friday's update, they gave a little update about how that's going to be coming for the 2025 model year. It's a 2024 production vehicle. And it'll most likely be the same stuff as Europe, where it's going to be getting I think it's like 181 horsepower. It's the same hybrid system you see in the CR-V and the Accord. They're going to just put that in the Civic. And that's why I don't know why it's taken them so long. But apparently it takes several years after this stuff's been around in the other vehicles before they're finally putting it into the Civic there. Kyle, thank you so much for gifting the 5 memberships there. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your generosity every week, Kyle. It really means a lot. And I'm sure everyone that's able to grab those memberships really appreciates it as well. And Jesse, thank you so much for your first super chat there. They said, hey, Matt, looking at a B8 S4 or Focus RS and can't decide, which one did you like more? So it's been a while since I've driven both of those, admittedly. But as far as which one I liked more, so B8, I believe, is that the last one that had the manual? I think that is. I'm a little foggy on my terminology with Audis, but I believe that's the generation, because I've never driven the newest one as far as a full review goes. So if it's the last one I reviewed, which was a long time ago, but I to me, between those two, the Focus is definitely the better performer. It's the more exciting car. It crackles and pops. You have the torque vectoring rear diff. It's just more set up to be sporty. The S4, even back then, was trying to, kind of do both things of let's be a comfy daily driver that just has some good performance as well. But it was really, focused on being a luxury car still. And the Focus, doesn't have that concern at all. So, between those two, I'd say from a fun standpoint, the Focus RS is the one I liked more. And I also not like that motor is the most reliable, but I would probably feel better buying a used Focus RS than a used B8 S4 because some of those older Audis can be a nightmare reliability wise. So I'd probably go Focus RS if I were you. Now the only thing is, I don't know if you've sat in a Focus RS yet. Sit in it and see if you like the seating position because the seats in that are kind of weird. It's like, the average car, is like your seat bottom is like this. Maybe it's like this a little bit, or it's adjustable in a best case scenario. The Focus RS is like this. So like if you're sitting like this and, you're using the clutch pedal and you're pushing down on the clutch, like my thigh kept getting like jammed by the edge of the seat bottom and it just wasn't comfortable. So I personally wouldn't daily drive. I wouldn't honestly. I don't like the seating position in a Focus RS. So like for me, that's borderline a deal breaker. It's a fun car, but especially these days, there are so many other fun cars that again, it comes down to exactly how much money you're spending there. But that's the only thing. And I mean, that doesn't annoy everybody. Obviously, there's people that are driving around in Focus RSs totally happy. So it's not a deal breaker for everyone, obviously, and everyone's body type is different as far as how much that'll interfere with if you have weird pressure on the back of your knee or not from the seat there. But it's just, and I'm not the only one that's complained about that though. I've talked to other people that are like, oh yeah, like I wish the seats didn't suck in the Focus RS. So that's the only thing. Definitely, if you can, by any means, try and sit in a Focus RS. See if you can get comfortable. If you can, Focus RS all the way. Otherwise, if those are the only two choices, if that doesn't work out, then the S4 is still a great fallback. I would just say get one with an extended warranty because again, you're talking about a older used Audi, and that generation especially had some quirks to it electrically that I think you'd want to make sure you don't have any expensive repairs coming down the road for you. So that's the only other thing I will say about that one. But I mean, still a great car nonetheless, especially all-wheel drive with a manual is rare these days outside of a WRX and GR Corolla. So it's definitely got some unique appeal there, especially if you want the manual. So that's my advice there as far as those two. Let me know again if you have any follow-up questions. I'll try and keep an eye out for them for sure. And Newt agrees about the seating position there. So I'm glad, it's not just me. So definitely try and sit in one if you can. And Steven, thank you so much for the very generous super chat there. He says, gotta love the crackles and pops. They are so fun. I know some people still hate them. And again, to each their own. But to me, it's just, especially these days where, we're having more electrification and stuff, like play up the gas thing as much as possible, have the fun, or, have a switch to turn it off or something for people who don't like it. I love it. It's always fun, especially the bullet going down hills, especially when it's like cold started and the engine isn't warmed up yet. If I'll just cruise down the hill going out of my neighborhood, just in second gear, just sitting there, I'll just be like brr, 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 the whole way down the hill. And it's like, I love it. And I'm sure plenty of people think I'm an idiot, listening to that. And I'm sure people in the neighborhood probably don't love it because at least it's not insanely loud, but it's, yeah, to me, it's so much fun. And get back to the other member questions here. Sorry, I'm so far behind on these. So Rafi says, Civic Hybrid will be cool, especially if it's confirmed to be the same powertrain. Yeah, I think it'll be great. Two says, hey, Matt, sorry about the late script Friday. Someone was too busy playing Raid Shadow Legends, not saying who, but he keeps bringing more people into the basement. Too, you're funny. Thanks for joining in, too. And I appreciate you stopping by here. Daniel says, what high school did you go to? I wouldn't have thought Pittsburgh had any small schools. It's because I went to a private school for my high school, a little tiny Christian school I went to for high school. So that's why it was very, very small. It was actually, so I switched schools. I went to a few different ones, but I graduated in a class of 8 and I was the only guy in my grade, which is like insane. And every time I tell it to anybody. So yeah, I had an interesting school experience. And I'm not going to get into personal stuff, but it was very, very interesting for sure. And not a typical high school experience for sure. But yeah. And Steven says, I hope you do a yearly subscription or even lifetime, but not for me to tell you what to do. My monthly will be up as new credit card, and that's always a hassle to renew. Only AX does auto pay auto. Yeah, I don't know if YouTube does yearly subscriptions. I appreciate the offer though, and the lifetime thing is it's very kind of you, Steven. But I'm not sure how long YouTube lets you sign up for memberships, if it has to be billed monthly or not. But I'm sure they got to be exploring. They keep expanding the whole program with all the membership stuff. So I'm sure if that's not available yet, it should come pretty soon, because that's definitely they keep innovating and adding new things with the member stuff. And so I hope that's something that they can add if they don't already. And Fuchs says. Yeah, about everyone focusing on the EV stuff, so hopefully it'll be quicker. And Double Strike says EVs have been around in various forms for almost 30 years at this point, so it's hardly new tech. I think people are just not aware of how long they've been on the market. Yeah, and there has been a lot of niche stuff, and a lot of those early ones really helped to work out the kinks and all that. And I agree. It's definitely a lot. Most of the main stuff has already been worked out. It's just little quirks, little glitches and things like that. And Marco says, from what I know, those 2012 Hondas had issues with their transmissions, but I could be wrong. Okay, good to know. Yeah, that's something I wasn't aware of. So, and for anyone that's ever looking for reliability info, my advice is to always check out any kind of like Facebook page for the vehicle or the brand, even as well as forums. You can really get a lot of insight from owners and people complaining about those vehicles or praising them, on those forums and Facebook pages and things like that. I think that's a really good place for info. Or even like, I'm sure there's Instagram fan pages for various cars, and you can probably hit up some owners there and kind of get a consensus of what's what, and that's kind of a good way to kind of get a snapshot there. And sorry, I missed Kevin. I missed your super chat there. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, "Do you recommend the current gen ES350 F Sport?" If you watched my review on it a few years ago, I don't know if it was the conditions or the tires that I had on it, but it had like no grip, and the handling wasn't as good as I wanted out of an ES. So yeah, I don't know. It was hard to like love. I mean, it's okay. I like the ES in general, and especially if you want a relaxed driving experience and you're not going for something sporty, the ES is a solid choice. Always has been, probably always will be. But I think, as far as the F Sport went, if you're going for something sporty, if you want the extra space, okay. But I really think if you want a better F Sport, sporty Lexus sports sedan experience, I'd rather have an IS. I know they're smaller and tighter. But if you don't need the extra space, I would just rather have an IS F Sport, to be totally honest. If you're looking for a 350 ES, maybe you could even jump up to the IS 500, which would be really fun for sure. But I mean, it's been a few years since I drove the ES 350, and it was not the best conditions. So I should probably pay it another visit and revisit, just what it's like again. But my first impression, I didn't love the ES with the F Sport package, especially. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. Definitely, if you haven't seen the review, definitely check that out for more of my in the moment thoughts. But I wasn't crazy about it with the F Sport as far as handling goes. If you don't care about the sporty things, get a regular ES, and I think it'll be great though. Two says, thanks for being a member for 16 months, by the way, too. I really appreciate that. He says, class of 8 and still at the bottom. Back in the basement I go. I appreciate the jokes, too. You always bring the humor to these live streams. He says, by the way, have you heard about Sun Kang wanting to make a new Initial D? Can't wait. That's awesome. I haven't heard about that. That would be great. That's very exciting. Hope he actually goes through with it. That'd be cool. Although I haven't had the time to ever sit down and watch Initial D, the original version. So another thing I'm sadly ignorant about. And thanks, Newt, for sharing the review there of the ES350 there. That's very, very handy for those that are, as a follow-up there, looking for the info on that. So thanks. Let me get back to the other member questions here, though. I don't want to get too far behind again. Where was I here? So, MG Channel says, Matt, are you going to do another acceleration reaction compilation once you reach 500,000 subscribers? Absolutely. But at the rate I'm growing, 500,000 subscribers will be way more than I can fit in one compilation. Because I mean, 500,000 subs will probably be another 5 years at least. It's just the channel's really slowed down with the growth. It's made sense to do whenever I was getting 100,000 subscribers like every year. It was like, oh, here's a yearly like acceleration reaction compilation. But now it's like I get like 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers a month if I'm lucky. So you do the math. I'm at 445,000 to get up another 55,000 subscribers outside of finally having like actual huge success on YouTube. It's going to be a long time before I hit 500,000 subs, unfortunately. But yes, absolutely, I will do another compilation. I may do one sooner than that though, just because again, it's going to be a long time before I hit that mark. But yeah, I definitely want to do more of those because those are fun. And Newt says, just recently I've seen people install the charger right in front of the house next to the road. Not the greatest. Yeah, I mean, but I guess if that's the way they got to do it, if that works for them, I'd be worried about that for a variety of reasons, but hopefully it would work out. I don't know. But that's got to be expensive to basically be putting in your own like public charger. That's gonna be way more expensive than just wiring up something to your garage. But anyway, let me see other member questions here. Brian says, hey, Matt, thoughts on or info on the proposed electric or hybrid Miata? Well, electric, I really don't think, especially from Mazda, you're not going to see an electric Miata until they have to do it, in my opinion, especially considering how it's so focused on being lightweight and how passionate everyone is in the company about keeping it that way. My bet, obviously, we just saw, the ND3 refresh here. That'll keep it going for another couple of years. And then after that, I think that'll be the last car that they do any kind of heavy electrification on. So my bet is that's going to use mild hybrid tech in the next, NE generation, I guess, if that's what they call it. So I'm talking like the 48 volt system you're seeing in the current CX90, like maybe they'll put that in the next generation in like 3 or more years. So, and then give that 10 years to live and then see where we're at, for the next version after that. And maybe that could be electric if that's the mandate by 2035 or something. But that's what, to me, that's going to be the way the timeline works with Miata. It'll be like the most mildest electrification possible until they have to do something different. Just because, again, any kind of electrification until, again, these batteries get radically lighter and smaller and more power dense, it's going to add weight in a vehicle where they really count every single pound, So I think it's going to be a long time. I wouldn't worry about hybrid Miatas for a long time, at least as far as real heavy hybrid tech. And Justin says, yeah, the last manual is the B8 and the 8.5. Okay, thanks for the clarification there, Justin. Jules says, hey, Matt, I watched a review of the 2024 Ioniq 5N on Top Gear. It seemed very interesting. They baked a lot of gas stuff into it. You can even bang off a fake rev limiter. Can't wait for your review. Yeah, that is one of the number one cars I'm excited to review next year is the Ioniq 5N. It seems really cool. It takes guts to try this kind of stuff and go out on a limb and like do something that's probably going to be unpopular for a lot of people, but it's all stuff you can turn off if you want. And I just think it's great to give people that extra fun if they want it and give them that choice. And again, if they want something silent and totally boring and bland, then like they can turn everything off and still, drive around like it's a Tesla if they want, but I think it'll be fun to have the paddle shifters and to have the fake sounds and to have, the gears that are being simulated and all that. I think it's great. And I'm excited. It's crazy that Top Gear got such a head start on everyone with that Ioniq 5N. And it seems like they're really prioritizing Europe big time with that because we haven't even, I don't think they've actually even shown the 5N here in the States. Like obviously we've all seen it, but I don't think it's actually been debuted or displayed at an auto show or even shown with like orange side markers or something here in the States really yet. So I just like, I guess we're going to be on the back burner for that one for a little bit, but I'm excited for it for sure. And let me see here. So, oh, sorry, I missed the other super chats. That some reason YouTube did not let me know about those. Luke, thank you so much for another super chat. He says it would be cool if they made a portable charger for cars, maybe slightly bigger than a normal 12-volt battery that you gave. They gave you like 50 to 100 miles. Yeah, I mean, I think something like that could make a lot of sense. Again, once the batteries get more power dense for sure. Because I mean, like right now, when you look at like how large obviously a battery pack is in a car, like to try and even do a 25-mile pack. I mean, you're talking about still a pretty big, heavy thing, but it's totally something that, I think would be really smart to do. Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised no one has done that yet. It is a really good idea. Even if it has to be something huge, I'm sure there'd be several people that'd be happy to have something, the size of, a small box, in the back of their car, or something that's the size of, like a few pizza boxes stacked up, that would give you an extra 30 miles of range. And if you're in a pinch or something, put it in the car on a road trip. And, I think that could it definitely makes some sense there. So yeah, I don't know. It's a good business opportunity for anyone who's listening. I wish I had the time and the money to explore that myself. But yeah, I'm sure there's got to be some good reason why no one's done that yet. Because otherwise, it's like, what is everyone waiting for? Um, Jose, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, just lost my 2019 ZL1 on a floating. I'm sorry to hear you lost. He said, do you think will be a good option for around the same power and fun in the used market for 60 grand? Well, if you loved your ZL1, go for another one of those. I think there's nothing wrong with, buying another one of whatever car you lost there. If it's something you really liked, stick with what you liked. But outside of the ZL1, if you're looking for a new experience there, same power and fun. There's really not a whole lot else other than like a Hellcat. So I think that's really the thing. I think the Hellcat is fun in a different way, though. It's more wheel spin. It's sloppier than a ZL1 in every way, but the sloppiness is fun as well. You have more burnouts, you have more hilarity, you have the louder supercharger whine of the Hellcat. You have the drama of not having the composed handling that you have with the ZL1. And I think the Challenger is better than a lot of people give it credit for, especially the wide body versions, but it doesn't hold a candle to the Camaro. So, I think if you want a new experience, though, that's also same power, that really limits your options there. I'd say Hellcat is really your only choice. And it's a great choice, though. I think it also, especially if you have an automatic ZL1, I think that you really could get an upgrade in transmissions. The 10 speed's okay in the ZL1, but the ZF8 speed in the Hellcat is fantastic. So especially if you're going for automatics, that'll be a nice upgrade of the transmission and the extra drama and the extra power you get over the ZL1 too slightly. I think that could be a nice choice. Outside of that, there's other things that are similar speed. You can go for a Tesla Model 3 Performance that'll be just as fast in a straight line as the ZL1 there, at least up to, triple digits. And then after that, I'm sure the ZL1 would pull away. But, there's all kinds of other things. And of course, if you want to go older stuff, there's other things. But as far as that kind of a power level, there's really not a whole lot. So I'd say Hellcat is probably the top one there. Let me see other member questions here. So Steven says, I went offline. I didn't realize you did the review of the 911 8 years ago. It was 200,000 views. Cool. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to check it out there. And Two says, Kyle, how far are we on that car charger? Yeah, well, that could be the next basement project, I guess, too. And yeah, Newt's amazed it was 8 years ago for that 911 review. Yeah, time flies. It's been 11 years I've been doing these car reviews here. And it's definitely crazy. And Marco says it was 2014, a few years ago. I know it is crazy. Daniel says, I noticed at one point you and other YouTubers were uploading full videos to Facebook, but that seems to have died down. Was the revenue just not there? So the thing about doing the YouTube videos on Facebook, so I actually had an interesting little trial run here. So I had someone who approached me and offered to edit my videos into little like 3 to 4 minute Facebook, vertical style videos. And so I was like, sure, let's give this a try. We were just going to split the revenue if it actually turned out to be something that actually made money. And it made like no money to do it that way. Because typically Facebook likes supposedly like 3 to 4 minute videos in their like 4x3 format. And that's kind of, the way to, at least in the past, like make a video that the algorithm likes on Facebook and have something they would hopefully push. We tried those for about a month on the Facebook page, and many of you, maybe if you saw the Facebook page, noticed that they had the subtitles and they were edited to be a little catchier and kind of be alongside that usual trend that you're seeing right now, especially on Facebook. And it just didn't even work. We even uploaded one of them as a reel on Instagram just to see if the algorithm would catch on to that, and that didn't really do anything either. So as far as, I think also there's other YouTubers that were doing it before. There's a few companies that also were doing that for them, and maybe those agreements just ran out, or they just didn't get as they got less appealing over time. I also heard from others that just the money has started to dry up on Facebook as far as the ad revenue for videos. It used to be good, and now it's not anymore. For me, it's no extra. I mean, it's 5 minutes of extra work to just take my YouTube thing and copy and paste the title and the description and dump it on Facebook. And even if it only makes me an extra 50 cents, it's a few minutes to, copy and paste and re-upload. Like it's actually worth probably, I mean, 50 cents is 50 cents. So it's whatever. So I just do that just for kicks. I have no expectations or hopes on Facebook, but I just post it there because it is a different audience. You would think maybe there'd be some cannibalization, but there really isn't. It seems like the Facebook audience is really just completely different than what's on YouTube. So I don't really feel like it's hurting the channel or anything. So I'm still continuing so since the little trial run with the optimized videos didn't work, I'm going back to just uploading full videos and stuff. If you look at the last few uploads here, they've just been the full videos that I've uploaded, and I would just keep doing that. And every once in a while, I have one that does do well. It'll make me, $5 or $10 or something, which again is, it's super low, but it's again $5 or $10 I didn't have before, and it takes me 5 minutes to do. So it's whatever. But yeah, the revenue is just not there. And so I think Facebook tried to incentivize some people to come to the platform, and then that money dried up too. So I think a lot of it is just Facebook trying to drum up appeal and then not following through, and then everyone realizing that YouTube is still the ultimate platform if you're actually trying to like survive and make money, and you're not just doing it as some fun side thing. YouTube is still the king by a long shot, even with the better ad rates slightly now on TikTok and on shorts and reels. Well, reels they would even pay for still, but it's just like there's no better platform than YouTube still. Let me see. So see, we got more spamming there with the questions from Omar. Omar, though, asks, what is the number one 3-row SUV? Depends on the segment, but if you're talking about mainstream stuff, my current favorite is the Grand Highlander. Austin, though, says, hey, Matt, if you were to buy stock in any EV-related companies right now, what would they be? Obviously not asking for financial advice. Yeah, that has to be the disclaimer. Not giving financial advice. So I don't know if they're even listed on the stock market. So I don't even know if if there was a company I could invest in. The most exciting EV related company to me right now is one. This is the shortened version. The name is R Next Energy. They have a partnership with BMW right now, and I think a couple other companies, but they're the ones I actually covered them in the weekly update a couple of times. They took a regular Tesla Model S, put their unique battery chemistry in it, and got 700 miles of range in the winter, by the way, in Michigan last winter. So they're already doing, I mean, everyone's like, oh, 2026 will do this. Like they already have it. Like obviously that's not ramped up to a production level. That's still like a prototype thing, but they're there. They already are doing a 700-mile battery in the same real estate space as a regular Model S, battery tray. And so they have the tech. This isn't just some science fiction crap. Like they actually have it, and it's something that they are ramping up production of, and they were getting a bunch of other deals to do other energy production things. But they are like really the dark horse that no one seems to be talking about, that is actually doing the thing and doing it really well. And like every time I hear about stuff they're doing, I'm like, holy crap, that's really good. They're also, all their batteries are really smart with the way they configured them. So they use hardly any rare earth minerals and all these things. So it seems like the logical next step, and everyone else is doing solid state stuff and all those other things. And I'm sure that stuff will also hopefully pan out, but I think that they are really doing really good stuff. I don't really follow too many of the other EV related things too much. That's just one of the ones that's popped up on my radar that really has impressed me as far as, again, just making this stuff a reality in the current year, not these pie in the sky predictions and crap. So, that's my favorite, but I don't even know if they're listed on the stock market. I'm not invested in any companies personally. So yeah, as far as that goes, I have no better options to give you personally. But yeah, I think, the other thing that I will say about, stock valuations with cars and stuff is, I think, Tesla's always been overvalued in my opinion. I think, whereas if you follow the stocks, I do follow the stock market a little bit. I was too busy to follow it this past week, but it seems like Tesla's kind of been on the struggle boat recently, as far as their stock valuation. But I think it's just like people are realizing, like, all these EV companies are way overinflated on how much they're worth. Whenever you see what actual Ford is worth and what GM is worth, with their stock, and then you see, these exponentially higher, valuations for these random companies that, are still proving themselves. It's just kind of crazy. So I think, like, obviously right now with the strikes and stuff, it's hard to, have good hope in the near term for these regular car companies as well. But I think, long term, I think Ford's going to really do well with EVs. And I think that GM's going to eventually do really well with EVs. And so I think even, if those valuations, if these tech companies ever get excited about Ford and GM, you could see those prices really shoot up from the pennies that they're at right now. Not literally, but, I mean, they're so cheap compared to Tesla and stuff. So I think, that might not be a bad, thing to look into as well. But again, not financial advice, and I'm not the best person to probably ask about that kind of stuff anyway. But interesting question, Austin. Thanks for asking. Marco says part of the reason the ad revenues are down on Facebook can be a result of Apple and their focus on privacy and not allowing apps like Facebook to track you without you really knowing. Maybe there's some of that. I mean, I don't know. I don't really get served Facebook ads on videos because I don't really watch Facebook videos. So I don't know how good the quality of the ads are. But I mean, YouTube, they are also subject to Apple's restrictions, and yet YouTube's ad rates have been great. They still serve up really good ads. Obviously, they have the power of Google behind them, but it's still, I mean, it hasn't hurt YouTube really. And I was kind of worried it might a little bit with all the new Apple stuff, but I mean, it doesn't seem to really hurt too much, thankfully. So that's good. I know no one likes ads, but I mean, again, it's literally how I, keep doing this channel. Without the ads, it would all die off, because unfortunately the memberships are great, but it's not not nearly to a large enough amount to give me any kind of ability to survive off of that. But Two says, so the Camry teaser, there's also rumors that they want to bring back the Corona name, which is questionable. Also, what do you think they do with the TRD if the GR Camry comes out? I think TRD I think that's going to fully transition to a truck thing. Personally, is my guess. I think if they do a new sporty Camry, it could be the GR, name there. Corona name. I guess they'd have to talk with Corona Beer to see how they've weathered the storm of the past few years. But I feel like that's probably not a great name to use no matter what forever. But I mean, and Toyota has other names they could use too. I know one of the interesting suggestions I saw was someone was saying that with the teaser being like a new dawn is coming and on the horizon, these are like sun related things. Some people were thinking Solara could come back maybe as a name. I don't know, again, how you work that into Camry, unless it's just like coupe or convertible Camry, which I really don't think is going to happen, but maybe they repurpose the Solara name for something else. It's just one example. There's so many names they could use. But with Camry, I think it's one of those other things. It's like, it's the best-selling sedan, don't mess with success. So I don't think they're going to get too creative with the Camry. I could be wrong, but yeah, I wouldn't get your hopes up for anything wild with the Camry. Even the GR Camry rumors, I'm still even skeptical about that. I think you're going to see most likely a Prime Camry before you see a GR one. And a Prime one still will be awesome performance. I mean, look at the RAV4 Prime. What is it, 5.5 seconds 0 to 60? I mean, that can still be a really fun vehicle. And maybe they do a GR Sport version or something of the Prime. And then, you give it slightly better brakes or something and call it a day. But I feel like my bet would be you'll see a GR Camry or a Camry Prime before a GR Camry personally, but both would be fun to see. I'd love to see any kind of sporty, fun Camry. I'm excited for the Camry in general, and we'll see how they respond to the Accord, which is really fantastic. I've been seeing the new Accords everywhere. I really think Honda hit it out of the park with the Accord. I was just thinking the other day, as I was seeing so many of these new Accords, I'm like, they really nailed, sorry for the tangent, but they nailed the Accord, like with making it just like the styling is like good enough. It doesn't upset anybody. It's not bad looking, but it's good enough. It's comfortable, it's soft, which is what Americans want. They didn't try and go too sporty with it. I think it's actually in some ways a little less sporty than the last generation. But that's okay because again, we're talking about mass appeal here. We're trying to keep sedans alive, not trying to build sports cars. So like if you're just trying to keep the sedan going, I think Honda did the right thing. Make it nice and soft, make it comfy, big, and efficient now, especially with the new ones being so heavy on the hybrid thing. I just think it's like the right car for America. It was kind of like the same aha moment that I think Kia and Hyundai had with the Telluride and the Palisade of like, you just got to make it big and comfortable. That's all Americans want. Make it big and comfortable, as big as you can possibly make it and comfortable. Bottom line, and that's, and then preferably as cheap as possible. But like, that's it. And Hyundai and Kia finally figured it out. Like, let's not try and like make a better thing, a better widget. Let's just give the people what they want. And I think the Accord is the same way. Don't do a SI Accord, or don't do any kind of Type R Accord. You just make it a nice, comfy cruiser, and Americans are happy. And so we will see if Camry goes a different way, or if they also agree that maybe we should just soften up the Camry, forget about the sporty stuff. I mean, with Toyota, they love the sporty stuff more than Honda. So I'd say Toyota will probably be the one to offer the sporty thing, but they could also just go soft. And I think I wouldn't blame them at all for just going with a soft Camry and going for that mass appeal. Rafi says, let's wait for their sponsor, Matt, to announce it. Yeah, I wish I was as cozy with Toyota as everyone seems to think I am. Steven says, not financial advice, but Carbon Revolution, the company that makes the OEM carbon fiber wheel, is a penny stock, but you never know. Yeah, I mean, carbon fiber keeps getting more and more popular, so could always be a good investment for sure. And Austin says, totally agree about Tesla being overvalued. I think the Cybertruck debacle and Elon's other ventures being somewhat questionable is contributing to the dips. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely Tesla stock would be a whole lot better off if Elon wasn't freaking everybody out all the time. But yeah, Tesla's, I could go on a whole rant about that. But they have their fans, they have their haters, and I'm honestly though. Well, yeah, I won't go off on a rant about Tesla, but yeah, it's interesting to see. Honestly, I'm surprised that they continue to do as well as they are, because I really thought that Elon getting more polarizing, and just the way that things have changed, and the way that we still haven't seen the Highland version here in the States. They're kind of slow with the rollout. They're still just so slow with improving products from a like visual standpoint, again, just for Americans that just want to have everyone know they have the new one, which is why we have model years and refreshes and stuff. And Tesla hasn't really competed in that kind of way. It's just kind of surprising to me they are still doing as well as they are, with no refreshes, with old stale products for the most part. And they're still selling them like crazy. I mean, cutting the prices every week certainly helps, but it's just like, I'm impressed. I'm honestly impressed that Tesla continues to sell as well as they have. But anyway, Goth Rocker says Honda should offer the Accord with all-wheel drive. Camry has it. Ultima has it. They keep holding out. Not sure why. Yeah, I don't know either. But that you're right. That is the last thing they need to do for the Accord for mass appeal before they really have got all the boxes checked. But yeah, and I have to think that would. I mean, it's not hard to do. It's on the same platform as the other stuff, like the CRV that has that. So I'm not sure what the holdup is, but I guess there's a good reason. I don't know, but it's certainly something hopefully they look into, because I feel like that'll certainly help them even more. But Hunter says, so what engine do we think the GR Camry would have? Also, would it be all-wheel drive? The Lotus Supercharged V6 has my vote. That would be the dream. Yeah, that'd be amazing. GR Camry, if they did do one, so there's actually, I think one of the rumors recently has been the hybrid max powertrain, in either a GR badged one or even just as a platinum thing. And maybe they just, copy the same powertrains as the Crown. Part of me thinks they want to have the Crown kind of have the upper hand there, since it's going to be the more expensive one, I'm assuming still, maybe not. But, but I think if they do GR Camry, I could see hybrid max going into that. So that's the 2.4 turbo with the hybrid, with the electric rear motor. And it's what I think 362 horsepower. It's fun in the GR or in the Crown, but it's not, in that it's not set up to be super sporty. So if they tuned it to be a little more exciting in the GR Camry, I think that could be fun. But I think you could honestly, I think they could even justify just calling a GR Camry the same as the Prime one and just do the 300 horsepower. And same as a Camry TRD, which everyone was totally fine with, 300 horsepower, but you do it with the Prime powertrain. That could be good. They could also just do something out of the ordinary and something they haven't done before, and just take that 2.4 turbo motor and turn it up to have a sportier amount of performance, whether it's extra boost, different turbo, something like that. And I mean, the sky's the limit there with what they want to do with that. That could be fun if they really want to go crazy. Just take the GR Corolla stuff and toss that into the Camry. I think that could be fun too. Again, only 300 odd horsepower, but you have the manual there, which I'm sure some people would appreciate. And you could even swap in the rear diff and all that to have even more sporty handling and stuff. Again, that's a real pipe dream, but lots of options out there. But I think the safe bet is Hybrid Max is probably going to be the easiest way to do that if that's what they wanted to do. And that would also give them the best headlines as far as the amount of horsepower. It would one up the previous stuff being well over 300 and all that. And I think that could kind of be the easiest way to go about it. We'll see. Two says, news from the basement, a cheaper Kia EV is coming. How? Ads. Imagine driving. Turn right. This drive brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends. That would be hilarious. That'd be horrifying, though. I don't know. There's also, so I've been seeing, I've been on Threads recently. I don't know if any of you have ever, or if ever gone back to it ever since the original hype, for a week on that. But the algorithm on there has been pretty good with giving me some interesting stuff. And there's been someone who does photoshops of potential tech ideas, whether it's people being on LinkedIn, oh, I'll pay $5 to have my message go to the top of their inbox, or all these random fun little tech ideas. Some of them are terrifying and others are really good ideas, but that could be another one of their things where it's hey, let's do ads on cars or in cars or whatever. I mean there's a lot of other things that are subsidized by ads. So maybe if cars, it's a horrible thing to think about, but if cars get so expensive that it's really a struggle for a lot of people to afford them, you just do wraps on them with advertisers and bring the cost down that way, or like you said, have sponsored stuff where it doesn't interfere with safety. But I mean, honestly, I know you're joking too, but I feel like that isn't as insanely far-fetched as it may sound, I think, sadly. And I think if it lowered people's prices a little bit, I think there would actually be some people that would probably go for it too. Rafi says, I think they would go turbo since they've been going away from the V6. Yeah, definitely will not see a V6 in the new Camry. I don't think anyone who's hoping for that, you're going to be disappointed. I don't know anything about the powertrains of the Camry yet. But I'm assuming that's probably just a thing of the past. I don't think there's anything that the V6 is still in, right? Is there anything aside from the Camry that even has the V6 anymore, aside from Tacoma, which is also getting rid of it? So, I mean, what else? Even you have the new gen, V6s and the Tundra and stuff, but I don't think that old naturally aspirated one is in anything else unless I'm forgetting something. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely going to be turbo 4, I think. Or they just do hybrid all the way too. That's another possibility for sure. Just do the 2.5, naturally aspirated one there. But Rafi says if they offer the more powerful motor, unless they pull an Accord and only base engine and hybrid, that's possible too. Yeah, it's it'd be interesting to see what ends up happening. And Austin says, hey, Matt, any updates on the Equinox EV for our friend Jacob? Sorry, I missed that. Thanks for shouting that out there, Austin. Equinox EV, I don't know. So GM is really being weird with their EVs. They are really struggling to build anything, and it's worse than anybody else. I don't know what happened to GM's battery supplier or whoever is supplying whatever component is bringing their EV lines to almost a halt. I have not heard anything, Jacob, as far as an update on it. I haven't even heard an update on the Blazer. I actually just, so members will know why I was talking to a GM rep this week. But I was talking to a GM rep this week about a car that I'm going to be reviewing soon. That's exciting. And so they wanted to kind of do an extra conversation about it on the phone. So I was talking to him on the phone, and before they went, I was like, hey, like any update on Blazer? Like it's at dealers. Like I'd like to review one. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna have Blazers soon in the fleet. But they didn't say when. So that all the Altium stuff, I don't know what's going on. No one's saying anything, but there is something. I mean, if the Blazers even, getting kind of pushed back a little bit here, and it's so slow with producing that. Lyrics are slow, Hummers are slow. I mean, they're all like they can't build any of this stuff. So like Equinox, if it still hits its target, I think it was originally, what was it, early 2024 for Equinox, I believe. I mean, I would be honestly at this rate, I'd be surprised if it even comes in 2024. I would like to be wrong. I think it's going to be a great vehicle for, people who, again, want something affordable. I think it's really impressive. You can get it for, 30 grand for the base one that has space, that's, new and modern and all that, and has, good charging, good range, all that. But I'm excited for it. But unfortunately, it just seems like GM just cannot produce. They can't, put out the cars they need to put out here. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Equinox EV. I wish I had an answer for you, but I don't. And let me see. So I think we've caught up to all the other member questions here. So High Roller XRS says, any solid info on the next gen Forerunner? No info whatsoever. My educated guess is, of course, it's going to just be everything you see on the Tacoma, with tweaks to the styling, but I think powertrain wise, it's safe to assume Tacoma stuff, which means possibly manual coming back, which is exciting, and all the other goodness of the Tacoma. But I think I don't have any other info beyond that. But I think that's the safe bet, is just Tacoma with a cab on the back, with again a slightly unique look. But I think that's kind of the safe bet there. Yeah, thanks for asking, Jacob, and sorry I wasn't able to get to your question sooner there. Alex says, what car gave you the most driving thrill in your opinion? It's hard to pick one car out of the hundreds, probably over 1,000 at this point, cars that I've driven. And I know as far as reviews goes, I think I'm over 650 now, possibly. It's a lot of cars I've reviewed, but the most driving thrill. Yeah, I don't even know if I can begin to pick a favorite out of everything I've driven all these years, because there's so many things. Like everything has a pro and a con. As far as the most exciting, I mean, I can tell you probably one of the fastest accelerations I've ever had was the Tesla Model S P100D. It was probably, I think, the fastest 0 to 60 time I've ever done. That was very thrilling in its own way, just for the G-force perspective. But I mean, then you have all the screaming engines of all the amazing other things that I've driven that are really fast in a straight line as well, that are gas powered. The stuff with amazing handling. I think, one of the ones, I don't have a ton of experience with supercars, but, I think that, the 458 that I reviewed a couple of years ago and the McLaren 720S are both two cars. The Ferrari handling wise wasn't mind blowing, but I think just the engine was so good in that. But I think the McLaren 720S was really like an all-around, like mind-blowing acceleration, really impressive handling. Just like everything was just like so good in that car. And so I loved, as far as driving thrill, like your question, I think that was probably one of the most thrilling ones I've ever reviewed. But then again, I've not reviewed all the other supercars that competes with. So there could be other ones out there that are more thrilling if I had the chance to review them. But I think that's one of the most impressive ones. But then, like, I would never in a million years own a McLaren, because when we had that vehicle on loan, it wasn't even me. It was actually Jason from Engineering Explained. He took it up into the mountains, where he didn't have service even, and the car would not recognize the key fob. He just got out to take a picture, got back in, and it wouldn't recognize the key fob. He was like sitting there like, I am literally stranded in this thing because it won't recognize the key. And he had no service, and he was like, crap, like, what do I do? And then he's just trying all these different places to put it. He put the key fob in the bottom of the frunk. And for some reason, after all the other, I don't know how many places he tried to put the key, he put it there, and then it finally recognized the key and started up. But like that story alone, I was like, nope, like I do not want to go somewhere with my supercar and have the key just like not work. And I'm sure that was just a fluke. I'm sure that hopefully McLaren has worked out some of the electronics. but British car electronics are still just like not amazing. So stuff like that, just I'd be like, maybe I'll go for the Ferrari or the Lambo instead. Even if the 720S might be the better, performer in some objective way. So, but yeah, lots and lots of fun cars. I've been very fortunate to drive so many fun cars all these years. It's really, man, it just, the fun keeps on coming. I got another very exciting one here this week. I'm excited to drive. So it's a very fun job for sure. Austin says, hey Matt, do you think the E-Ray Corvette makes sense when they can just throw more displacement or forced induction into the mix to achieve the same power with a lot less complexity? I think it does make a lot of sense. Once again, just comes down to how people want that experience. Do they want the instant power of the electric motor and the all-wheel drive and the grip and all that? Do they want the Z06 experience with the high red line and all that? Or do they want both, which is potentially the Z01, of having the electric front end and having the Z06 motor combined, or even something beyond that? I think, it's just different things for different people. And, I think it certainly makes sense to do that. But just, look at, the NSX. The NSX made sense. It was a logical thing. And then no one bought it, So I think making cars that make the most sense isn't always a key to success. And so I think, it's one of the things you have to be cognizant of, like, okay, maybe this is the best approach, but is this what actually people want? I think the E-Ray is going to be a very interesting science experiment, right? You have this and the Z06. They are basically the same price. They are basically the same performance, just in two different flavors. What do people want? And I'd be real interested to see how the sales split is over the next couple of years. And, are people wanting electrification in a Corvette, or do they just want the screaming high revving V8 of the Z06 there? Not like the E-Ray is, a bland experience. You still have a V8, but it's just, not as extreme. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works out for them. Tom, thank you so much for the super chat again. He says, new Civic versus Accord. Which is the better daily driver? Which do you prefer? Accord for sure. It's so much more comfortable. It's softer with the way they set it up. And it's just the seats are softer in the Accord. You have more space in the Accord. The screen's bigger. You have a better stereo. Just in all the ways, pretty much Accord is just, it's better for sure. Not the Civic's bad. Civic's a great daily driver too, but between the two, the Accord is definitely the better one. And thank you so much for the super chat again there, Tom. And let me see. So, Brian says, what is your favorite car YouTubers that you like to watch? I don't have a lot of time to watch car reviewers or anything on YouTube for that matter. But I will say that, like, some of my favorites, I really love Henry Catchpole, who was he was Carfection, right? I think it was their channel. And I don't know if that still is a thing, because I haven't seen too many reviews from him recently. But I think he did something for Haggerty, so maybe he's over there now. I don't know. But anyway, I always admired the way Henry Catchpole did reviews. He's very concise, and he says a lot without saying too much, which is kind of something I always am aiming. I would love to get to that point, because I'm very verbose. I say a lot, and it takes me forever to do a review. For example, he can still do a really good review in 10 minutes. I can't, so obviously he skips over a lot of things that I cover, but it's just like, he's very, very good at describing things and conveying what it's like. So I was really liked his. Jason Camiso is hilarious with Haggerty. He's an awesome guy. I've been fortunate to hang out with him once, and he's so much fun, just as much fun in real life as he is in the videos. And I love Haggerty stuff. With the insane budgets they have, and it's so much fun watching, basically a blank check car review of just like, let's just like do whatever we feel like doing with basically no budget constraints. Have at it, Jason. Like, it's just like, it's great to see that. So I think that's definitely a fun one to watch whenever I have the time. As far as actual more ordinary car reviews, Savage Geese to me is still like just so good. They are just so technical with the way they deep dive into stuff, and they're great guys. I've had many opportunities to hang out with them. They're so such good guys, and they do really good work. They work so hard at that stuff too, and it's just like something I always want to just support when I can, just because like they are. I mean, I talk about how I'm super insanely busy, and like that's one thing me and Jack sometimes will commiserate on, is just like the complete like out of balance work life balance, or lack thereof work life balance, where it's just like it's a ton of work. And I mean, I don't even do, half the production value they do. They're really killing themselves with trying to get these videos being amazing and trying to get them all together and worked out with these comparison things. It's like a giant nightmare, most of the time. So, I really like supporting them when I can. And I also really like Sarah and Tune does great reviews too. It's kind of insane to me that there aren't more female car reviewers, considering that females basically make up at least half of the car buying purchases out there and influence more than half of car buying purchases, even from the ones that are, guys buying them. I mean, most guys have, their wives or girlfriends or whatever influencing that decision as well. And so you would think there would be more female car reviewers. And that's something I've always wanted to support. And that's one thing I'm trying to do, at least with, having Beth in the interior reviews. But I think Sarah is really knowledgeable. She's really good. She puts the cars up on lifts. She really knows her stuff. And I think she does a really good job with her reviews as well. So those are probably the top ones. If I'm looking for info on a car, even that I'm looking at reviewing or I'm interested in, they're always kind of some of the top ones. But I love, Sophion does great videos as well on Redline Reviews. I always love seeing his stuff. There's lots of good ones. I'm friends with many of them. So there's it's just all of them do really good videos. There's very few. It's easy for me to say the ones I don't like than the ones I do. There's a lot of really, really great ones out there. And Hunter says, what is your favorite brand between Lambo, Ferrari, and McLaren? Ferrari for sure. I'm a huge Ferrari fan. Even though Ferrari is probably the brand I've actually driven the least amount of vehicles from as far as supercar brands goes. Because I have driven exactly I've reviewed two Ferraris actually. I've driven 3 total. One other one, a 430 Scuderia in Italy, that I didn't do a review on, but I did do a drive video and I uploaded that. It was 2010, 2011, long time ago. But yeah, so that's Ferrari is definitely my favorite brand for sure. And Nathaniel says, hey, Matt, thanks for joining in, Nathaniel. T says, Brian, he doesn't watch YouTube. How else will he enjoy torturing us in the basement? Jeez. Yeah, just way too busy with the channel to watch too much stuff. And let me see. Goth Rocker says, speaking of British cars that are expensive, really thinking about a used F-Type. My whole life, I always have bought / owned American cars and Japanese cars. That Jaguar has the looks. Yeah, the F-Type that's another British car. Yes, you definitely would be taking a chance on. At least that one's a little cheaper. And yeah, I'm also just biased. I love the F-Type. So that an F-Type is one I would take a chance on. Even if it's not perfect reliability, I still desperately want an F-Type someday. We'll see what happens. But at least they're starting to depreciate. And hey, Austin says Doug DeMuro is Matt's favorite. Yeah, definitely not. And yeah, I will leave it at that. But, Nathaniel says that TLX was piss poor. My Chrysler 200 came out the same year, same 9-speed. I have cooled seats, a heated steering wheel, advanced adaptive cruise control with stop and go, reverse stop, lane keep, real wood, pano sunroof, all-wheel drive. Yeah, and the 200s too. I mean, I just saw another person post up a thing on I think it was 300,000 miles they had on a Chrysler 200 or something. Those things, that Pentastar V6, which I don't know, Nathaniel, if you saw this past week, whenever Stellantis had their powertrain announcements, they've said like the Pentastar is going to stick around there. Like it's a good, solid motor for us. It works really well, and we're going to keep it around, which is cool to hear that, and to hear that they're also experiencing that. Yeah, like this is a really reliable motor out in the real world there. And I think they said they might add some electrification to it potentially, but the Pentastar still is just a really solid motor there. Excuse me. And Marco says, Forrest has been my favorite as of late for quick content. Haggerty is my son's favorite. We love to just sit together and watch them. Very beautiful cinematography. Yeah, definitely. Forrest, yeah, I don't really go on TikTok much, so I don't see his stuff, and I think maybe he doesn't like the short stuff, yeah, the quick things, but I never watch any of that kind of stuff. So it's yeah, I don't really have too much experience with that, but I know he's very, very popular. So I'm sure he's doing something right to get as many views and followers there as he's getting there. And Nathaniel says in 2015, but Acura is the luxury brand. You get robbed buying these Japanese luxury. My Chrysler is the better by 100% for less. Yeah, I mean, some people it's the styling or it's the reputation and stuff. That just I mean, Lexus is still usually rated one of the top ones. Acura, they've fallen a lot in the past few years, but they were pretty high up there for a while too. But all those older Hondas and Toyotas and stuff are still pretty solid too, for sure. But Austin says, hey man, have you ever taken any competitive driving courses or are you mostly self-taught? No, I've actually done, let me see. So I have the plaques up on my wall here. I've done a total of 4, I believe. Yeah, 4 different driving schools. I did the first one was the Cadillac V Performance Driving Academy. I did that back in the CTS and ATS era. So we were in CTS Vs and ATS Vs, and it was a 2-day program at Spring Mountain Raceway outside of Vegas there in Pahrump. And that was really transformative for my driving skills, and just really bolstered my confidence on track too. Because before that point, I still didn't have a ton of track experience and it was a little intimidating, honestly, whenever I'd be out on track before that point. But that really gave me the confidence and like really helped me to figure out, what can I do? What can't I do? What am I capable of on track a little bit? And obviously that's something you continue to improve, but that 2-day program it really is beyond a lot of the other ones. So after I did that one, I did Bondurant, which was a day program. I did a half-day McLaren program. Basically, whenever you buy a new McLaren, they throw in a free half-day driving school thing. I did that as a collaboration with Project Cars 2 when that game came out. It was a sponsored thing. They flew me and that dude in blue and a few other people to San Francisco there, to Sonoma. We did the half-day thing in the McLarens there. That was a ton of fun. I also did Skip Barber for a day with Fiat and Abarth, and that was really good too. But I think ranking them, Bondurant has since been changed to whatever they sold to somebody else. I can't remember what it's called now, but that was really good. But I mean, the Cadillac program, and it's also Ron Fellows, the Corvette driving school, same instructors, same program. It's still to this day my favorite one. I think the best because the 2-day things you can really drill in more than the other 1-day ones or the half-day things. But it is so good to like actually get true training because there's some stuff you can self-teach yourself and you can go out on track and kind of learn as you go if you want. But I think that it really helped to transform my thinking about vehicle dynamics and just there are so many different things that I never thought about before that they really taught you, but not only just taught you in the classroom or taught you on the track, but you got to like learn it and figure it out for yourself with their help and guidance and then improve on your stuff. Like with the V program, it was like, they were like, okay, here's what we're going to do this time. You get in the car as you go and do your laps. And then they have, with the cars having the performance data recorder, you bring in your memory card and you plug it in. They say, okay, well, here's where you lost time. Here's where you screwed up. And you can see exactly on the track. And you can see the video footage of you, not hitting the apex well enough or not, holding the line or whatever it is you needed to do. And then you go back out on the track and you're like, okay, I'm going to do it this time. And you keep working at it. You keep working at it. Like, okay, well, that was better. Here's where you can improve more. And they're really like holding your hand the whole time through it all. And it was just like, it was so good. I actually did a video on it. No one watched it, so I'm sure it was another easy one to miss. But that was a few years ago. But I think it's titled like "Becoming a Better Driver at the Cadillac V Performance Academy" or something like that. And so that's that. Kind of conveys what that program is like. I try to do a good job of showing what it was like to do that. But that's the program they give you if you buy a V product or a Corvette. But I think you can also just buy your way into it as well. But they do such a good program there at Spring Mountain, and it's really, really well done. So yes, I'm very, very thankful that I've been able to do all these driving schools for free, but they've really improved my driving so much. So I'm very, very thankful for those. Rafi says her reviews are good. It has good random humor. Yeah, Sarah's hilarious. It's really funny to watch her videos. And let me see. Charles says my Bullet now has 53,000 miles. What are your thoughts on the Amira? Amira seems great. We'll see if I ever drive one, but they seem really promising. Yeah, I'm excited to see a good competitor there to all the other established stuff out there. Glad to see Lotus back at it, and I hope it does well for them. And Marco says, I'm not on TikTok either. He's on YouTube as far as Forrest. Okay, so I guess he's putting his stuff on shorts now. That's good to see. Let me see. Nathaniel says, I didn't actually, but I heard of it from you and your weekly update. I get a lot of news from you so much, so I don't always keep up with Chrysler Source things. Yeah, check out, I can't remember. They had a conference in Detroit this past week, and that's where they said how the Hurricane 6 is going to get a higher performing version. And then they're also going to make a smaller version of the Hurricane 6 that's going to be a 4-cylinder turbo motor, 2-liter, and that's going to probably go into a bunch of stuff as well. And then they're also going to keep the Pentastar around for some other stuff. And Nathaniel also says, by the way, that rant on the missing features you highlighted on the Acura, my point was for the same year, same trans, similar V6, non-luxury car has everything. Yeah, the Acura is missing. Yeah, and I mean, that's the price people pay for the luxury stuff. A lot of times, that's like the thing, even it's hard to justify with SUVs or any of these things where it's like you can get all the same features you get in a luxury vehicle. These days they've really kind of democratized that stuff by giving everyone heated and cooled seats and heated steering wheels and panoramic roofs and all these things that used to be exclusive or at least harder to get, that now you can get in ordinary stuff, and so a lot of times it is just paying for nicer leather seats or feature or styling and not so much the features these days, which is kind of an interesting shift in the dynamic there. For what is considered a luxury car and why, versus what it was even just a few years ago. He also says, where can I find that interview? Is it on Chrysler's YouTube channel? Maybe if you go to like Allpar or like Mopar News or something like that, they might have a rundown of it. I just saw it as like a sidebar whenever there's all the coverage about the Charger that came out this week. But it was, I believe, I can't remember the name, but it was their propulsion chief propulsion engineer or something that was giving a presentation, but I don't remember his name or exactly what it was even called. But if you just look up in the past week here, Stellantis powertrain stuff, hopefully it'll come up there for you. And Chris says, where can I look for a Volkswagen VR6 engine? I mean, there's all kinds of places. You can always try a junkyard, like pull apart. They oftentimes will get that kind of stuff in, or you could see if there's anything online. If you're interested in Volkswagen stuff and all that, my buddy Humble Mechanic does only Volkswagen stuff, pretty much, is a really good source of info. He might have a better answer for you there than I do. Let me see. So Nick's saying, I'm curious. I've heard a lot about the revamped GTR coming out by the end of the year, or at least shown off for next year. I haven't heard any of that. I'm curious where you've been hearing that, but that would be great. I'd love to hear even rumors about a new GTR, because I haven't heard anything about a GTR in at least a year. And it was, I think at that point, even it was just them being like, we don't know what to do. Like, are we going to make it electric? Are we going to make it hybrid? Are we going to just stick to gas as long as we can? Like, what are they going to do with it? So I'm curious to see, if they've kind of come to any, at least rumored conclusions about what they actually want to do. And Goth says, sorry, Dodge is in trouble. My brother has a Challenger 6.4 Hemi V8. That sound, engine, and look is their identity. The inline 6 twin turbo might be faster, but that will not be enough to save them. Yeah, but there's also rumors they'll keep the V8 around too. So we will see what happens. Now it's like anyone's guess with Dodge, since everything they've told us so far has been wrong, basically, with the official info of like, oh, it's going to be electric only. It's like, well, clearly it's not. So, I don't know what to expect. It seems like the V8 is getting phased out at Stellantis, but we will see. I think they're going to keep it around at least a few more years in the Ram and stuff. So they're still going to build them. So potentially we could see it still in the, the new Charger somehow. We will see. Motor Trend last year had a rumor that it was going to be the naturally aspirated 6.4 Hemi with a hybrid assistance to do 700 horsepower for a new Hellcat, that could still be possible and be what they end up doing. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And thanks, Newt, for chiming in about LKQ online as a common site there, I guess, for the VR6. I appreciate the help. I've never even heard of that site, so I'm glad you're able to give some insight there. And Jacob also says keep up the weekly updates. I'm glad you like them, Jacob. Yeah, thankfully they've been doing better in the past few weeks than typical. I don't know if the headlines have just been better or what, but I'm very thankful, and hopefully I can actually get the weekly updates to start growing a little bit, because they've just been stagnant basically ever since I started doing them. So if I could break through the 10,000 view glass ceiling consistently on those, that would be nice, but we'll see. And Austin says, hey, Matt, what future products do you think the BMW iVision D might be hinting towards? I mean, I think it's, BMW is always trying to do the voice assistance and the gesture controls and all that stuff. I don't know. I think a lot of the stuff is also just them. I think that was really trying to show off, the new class styling that we saw now more recently with the other, new class thing they just showed off. And I think, most of it was just trying to preview that stuff a little bit. And, I think that head-up display screen thing they have at the base of the windshield is kind of the main thing there that's closer to being production ready than everything else, and I think that is something they're planning on putting into the production stuff. But I think that's really the only thing that is even hinting towards any kind of viable thing in the future. And Zachary says, hey Matt, good evening. My mom jumped from a 2002 Pontiac Grand Prix to a 2015 Kia Sorento, has 162,000 miles on it, still going strong. Shows that Kia improved the reliability and the quality. Definitely. Yeah, they're another brand. A lot of people are still stuck in the 80s with Kia, and they make some solid stuff. I mean, they certainly aren't perfect. They still have some stuff that has issues, or people have bad luck with some of them still. But then you have people like your mom that are doing 160,000 miles in a Sorento and still going strong. So sometimes it just comes down to getting the right model year. If you get something that after the kinks have been worked out of it, or there's some change that they made to improve them, or you just get lucky with one that's had good maintenance or something. It could be a number of variables, but it's good to see that the Sorento is still holding up well for her. And thanks for joining in, Zachary, there. Marco says, hey Matt, did you get that PPF on the Mach-E? How's that holding up on your Bullet? It's holding up well on the Bullet. I actually did an update on it whenever I did my 5-year update on the Bullet there back in the summer, and it's holding up really well. It's definitely saved the paint. There's a few little nicks in it from rocks and stuff, but as far as the finish and the adhesion and everything, it's all holding up really, really well. We did not get it on the Mach-E. I might have been able to, because I mean, I'm still buddies with the Expel guy that sponsored, just gave me that stuff for the Bullet. So I could have put it on the Mach-E, but the Mach-E is a lease kind of. It's a Ford option plan where it's a 4-year lease thing, and we can either buy it out at the end of it, or we can just turn it back into Ford. But it was still a purchase technically, so we were able to get the tax credit. So anyway, the Mach-E is not a keeper like the Bullet was, so not worth investing in something that's not a keeper and not a car we own it technically, but probably going to just treat it like a lease. So we don't have it on the Mach-E. The Mach-E got one little ding, and I actually covered in a weekly update. I did a touch up of the hood there with I think I can't remember the name of his. I did a touch up brand video. And I did a little touch up there on the hood of the Mach-E. But other than that, it's thankfully been holding up okay with the paint on that. Goth Rocker also seconded the thing about keeping the updates going. I definitely want to keep them going. We will see. Again, the fact that I've actually had some slight bit of more success than I've had in the past, in these past few weeks, actually getting some weekly updates up over 15,000 views is encouraging. I don't want to stop doing them, but I was really considering it there for a while, because it's just like everyone I talked to was just like, they don't get the views, they're not growing, and it's not evergreen. I'd be better off doing a car review, which might also only get 10,000 views for a while, but if it's at least getting a few views continuing on, then it'll eventually be the more profitable thing to do versus, the weekly updates, which get viewed for a week and then no one ever watches them again because it's old news. So it's very much a, just burn of a week and then it just dies completely. So that's the tough thing about the weekly updates is you're always chasing the news. You're having to make sure you're not too late on the news. And then it's just, again, it's only fresh for a week, unfortunately. And let me see here. Sean, thanks so much for being a member for 15 months. He says, hey, I've had a day. My Kia was stolen, vandalized, and found again in less than a 3-hour period. Hopefully this stream lifts my spirits. Holy crap, Sean. I'm so sorry to hear that. That is terrible. Geez, well, yeah, I'm sorry. We're almost at the end of the live stream here, but definitely feel free to go back and watch. These always come back on. You can rewatch them as they're wrapping up here, and they're always available for I think there's actually, if there's not a playlist, there's at least should be a page on the channel page, a tab to see the live streams. But man, I hope everything works out though. Hopefully it wasn't too badly vandalized. Hopefully insurance takes care of you, and hopefully it's that's the worst. I just like that kind of stuff just makes me feel sick to my stomach. Just like, because even if you get your car back, it's like it's just been not treated well and everything. It's just that's the worst. I'm sorry to hear that, Sean, and glad it was at least found. So yeah, but if there's anything that myself or anyone else that can do to help you out, definitely let us know. That is definitely crappy. And so let me see here. Last couple of questions before we go. Don't want to miss any of the member questions here. So thanks, Nate, for linking the 5-year bullet update. Austin says, hey, man, I haven't heard anything new about the Sony Afeela models lately either. Is that still happening? I believe so. I think when did they say? Is that 2025 for that? I'm guessing we'll probably hear more stuff at CES in January. But yeah, I've heard zero about that. So I hope that's still a thing. I mean, I don't love the new styling they put on it, but I think, again, it has promise. It could be a really cool thing. Maybe they're also going to push that back if, again, the EV take rate isn't as hot. That could also just get put on the back burner or something. I don't know. But yeah, good question. I have no idea. Haven't heard anything about it at all. And Nathaniel says, I can't get past Kia's engines blowing. They have a whole Facebook group about it, 2011 to current brand new Kias. It's sad because I love Kia. If you're interested in the group, it's Kia engine failure. Yeah, and so, I mean, the good thing is at least you have the 10-year powertrain warranty. I know some people have said that they've had trouble with getting, Kia or Hyundai to honor that, at least from the dealer level. Hopefully they, honor that because, I mean, they do have a 10-year warranty, so that should take care of any engine failures whatsoever, unless you're talking about people that are having them beyond that. But yeah, that's definitely not ideal. But I mean, again, there's lots of other people out there still driving. I see Kias all the time, so they're not all blowing up, So it's another one of those things where it's like, as they've gotten more popular, is it that the percentage has stayed the same and you're just seeing more at that same failure rate, or is it that the failure rate is actually worse or is the same as it was before? It's just kind of, I mean, I'd love to see the data behind that as far as what's actually going on. But I'm sure, obviously, no one will ever see that stuff. But it'd be very fascinating to look into, what's actually happening there. Gothrocker says Kia screwed themselves with the Stinger. Dealerships acted like it was a Ferrari, and Kia dealerships are awful. Part of the reason Kia Stinger did not sell as well with how dealers treated people. I guess it comes down to where you're at, too. Kia dealers around me have been fine. I see tons of Stingers around here, which I guess is abnormal. But Stingers are really popular around here, and I haven't heard. You're the only one who's told me about dealers being weird with Stingers. I've had a lot of dealers that I've heard of that are just like, they don't treat it like anything special. But obviously, again, it comes down to the dealer, and dealers, plenty of them are definitely very, very crappy. So it sounds like you just might have a bad one by you, but it seems like the dealers around me aren't too bad. And like I said, it's at least not stopping people from buying Stingers around here because they're definitely buying a lot of them. All right, so let me see. Carsec Woodson, in doing your research on the weekly updates, I'm sure you learn a lot and expand your car knowledge across the board as well. I definitely do, and I love just doing the research, and I love staying up to date on car news every week for my own personal, curiosities. But yeah, it's one of the things. Again, I'm doing this as a business, and so doing what I want to do is not the top priority most of the time, as much as I would like it to be. But so we'll see. But I have hope. Hopefully, I can justify doing the weekly updates as long as possible here. And thanks, Newt, also for linking the past live streams there. I appreciate it. And Nathaniel says, "Man, oh man, Matt, if I had a choice between all car reviews on the internet and your weekly updates, I'm going weekly update. They're literally a 30 out of 10. That's that good. Hope they improve the views wise. Yeah." And I know, and it's bizarre because like I hear so many comments, people who love the weekly updates, but it's like unfortunately there's only maybe 7 or 8,000 people, which I know is thousands of people, but not in the grand scheme of things. It's a very little amount of the channel with 445,000 subscribers. Only 1% of the people that are subscribed to this channel think the weekly updates are worth watching. Not to mention all the non-subscribers that get pushed the video as well that still can't amount to decent views. So it's just a very I wish I could wrap my head around it because it seems like everyone loves them, but it's just a very vocal few, unfortunately. And I mean that still matters and that still is noteworthy, but I just, again, doing this as a business, I hope that, it's not like, everyone's favorite cult TV show that like, there is a few thousand people that love it and make a ton of noise online about it, but then like it just doesn't perform and the networks have to kill it off. And I feel like that's kind of the weekly updates are that niche TV show that people love, and it seems like it's got this huge following, but then the actual amount of people that watch it is very, very small. And that's kind of how I feel about the weekly updates. Again, hopefully I can justify the niche TV show and keep it going, but it's definitely, it's tough to justify sometimes. Squishy Chef, thank you so much for the very kind super sticker there. I really appreciate it. And thanks for being the #1 fan there and for joining on the live stream. But we're at 2 hours here, so let me just wrap up the last couple of questions and then we will wrap up here. But let me see. Rafi, thank you so much for another super chat. He says, "Keep it up, Matt. Love the vids. Hope you have a good week." Thanks so much, Rafi. Goth Rocker is talking about how Sony is working with Honda. Yeah, that was announced, and so they are teaming up on that. But I know Honda's got their own stuff they're working on too. So hopefully, they're able to actually get that new car out. But Marco says, yeah, that's why you opt for the 10-year warranty on the Kia or the Hyundai for sure. Sean says, "Thanks, everyone. Simple smashed and joyride. They bounced it off a brick wall doing donuts in a parking lot and trashed it. They also cooked the back brakes and shot a taillight with a BB gun." What the heck? That is... that's got to suck. And especially to like see it afterwards if it was recovered and stuff. That's... man. That's the worst. I really feel for you, Sean, and I hope that you come out of this ahead and you can at least either upgrade cars or get a better version of what you had or whatever, just to try and soften the pain of today. So thank you so much, Sean, for joining in, and hopefully a few minutes of the live stream here is at least a nice distraction, if nothing else. Austin says, "Thanks for another fun live stream, Matt. Have a great week, everyone." Yeah, you as well, Austin. And Goth Marker says it was a while ago with the Stinger thing. Went and bought the Lincoln Continental instead. Yeah, which is a great car too. So you definitely, I mean, the Stinger is a better handler, but the Continental is so nice too. So I'm glad you're happy with your choice there. And Marco says, "Glad I decided to watch the live stream instead of football." Well, I appreciate you watching. And I know I'm kind of competing with football here during the fall months here, but hopefully, it's not. Hopefully, people can just keep them both up, so you don't have to give up one or the other. You can join in and enjoy both. But anyway, so yeah, thanks everyone for joining in here. Thanks, Newt, for moderating, and hope you all have a great week. Stay tuned for some more good stuff here this week. And I got a fun lineup here this fall. I mean, I got some usual ordinary stuff as well, but I got some cool fun stuff lined up here, as the members know, and so stay tuned for a lot of fun coverage and content here over the next couple of months. Gonna hopefully end the year strong here. So anyway, thank you all so much for joining in once again on the live stream here, and I'll see you guys on the next one. And I gotta find my end stream button here. All right, and take care, everyone.